Matthew Bell with InsurancePrescription.com. Today, I want to continue a series that I'm doing on pensions. In specific, we're going to talk about various pension election options. So in part one of this series, I just talked through a four-part definition of pensions that I got from a Google search. Just as a rehearsal, that very basic definition was that a pension is a regular payment made during a person's retirement from an investment fund that was, number 4, set up by an employer on behalf of the employee during that person's working life. For the specifics of that definition, see the first video. These defined benefit retirement plans are distinct from defined contribution retirement plans like 401ks. They're distinct in several senses. One of the primary ones is that the employer takes the risk rather than the employee in terms of having the amount of money available for retirement. But once an employee is ready to retire, then it becomes decision time. Several options will be presented to you on the pension election paperwork. Now, one important option will not be presented to you, and I'm going to talk through that specifically in a future video. That is called a pension maximization or a pension max, and it's an idea in which a person can use life insurance obtained privately to try to put together a retirement option that is more attractive than the ones that are presented, but accomplishes all of the same things that would have been presented with a survivorship election. But in order to have that future conversation, we're going to have a preliminary conversation just about the basic options that are presented. The main options that a person has are basically two. Number 1, you can take the money now as a lump sum. And number 2, you can take your money in installments over a period of time. Now, if you choose to take it over a period of time, there's a secondary choice that has to be made, and that's got to do with something that is referred to as survivorship, meaning do you want to have some portion of the pension available to a spouse in the event that you die first. Now, this provision for a spouse is called survivorship, and it can be almost any percentage. It's going to depend on the company and the options that are presented to you. This is as good a time as any to say, I cannot advise you on your pension election. This video is simply for general informational or entertainment purposes. You need to consult with your retirement specialist, with your human resource department, whatever benefit department might be relevant in this case. You need to make sure that you understand the options and can factor in personal details in order to make a decision that's right for you and your family. The carpenter's adage, measure twice, cut once, should be applicable to this as well, because often pension options are irrevocable. Once you make that election, you can't go back and undo it. Now, I should say that pension election options are very similar to annuity settlement options. It might be beneficial also for your understanding if you get a fix on what annuity settlement options exist in various annuities. I have a separate video in which I detail annuity settlement options, and it might be of assistance to you. Some of the same concepts arise and some of the same terms apply. And the similarity is due to the fact that a pension is built similarly to an annuity. Now, strictly speaking, the two are different. There are differences that arise. Primarily, a pension is built by an employer. It could be private, it could be a government agency, and the pension is designed for an employee's retirement. An annuity, on the other hand, is an insurance product that is designed and built by an insurance company, but both are designed to try to give a person an income stream, presumably in their retirement. That's usually why they're built as retirement products. And they're similar in the sense that they both promise to take some of the worry out of where you are going to get an income in retirement. But for our purposes, they're also similar in the sense that they both offer similar payment options. Consult my annuity payout video for that information. But there are two options, as I said, the lump sum option, the installment option, and I'm going to consider the third option as the pension max option, which we will discuss in a future video. So let's get a fix on the actual options that are present on the pension election form. So the first one is going to be lump sum. That is going to be take it now. You're just going to grab the cash out of that pension and run with it. What you do with it after that is your business. You take the risk of any investments that you make, and you run the risk of running out of money in retirement. The employer at that point will have absolutely no stake or risk in terms of your retirement. They will not be paying you an income. You're going to simply take that cash, and then it's up to you to make a living out of it. Now, if you do this, the lump sum is essentially what is called the commuted value of the pension, which is a term that you will hear. So the commuted value of a pension is a little bit of a difficult concept sometimes to get a fix on. The best example maybe that I can give to you is the example of a lottery. So if you see a lottery, let's pretend that we have a $500 million Powerball lottery that is being conducted. If a person wins that lottery and they decide that they just want to take all the money at one time, they are unlikely to get $500 million. And the reason is because the $500 million is calculated on the basis of the assumption that they're going to be taking payments as they're lottery winning. So if a person decides they want to take a lump sum, they're going to take a little bit less than the $500 million in the Powerball. And the reason for that is that the lottery does not actually have $500 million. They've got a lesser amount, and what they were intending to do is put that lesser amount into some kind of a growth fund so that over time the money would grow into $500 million and all of the installments that were paid out would total $500 million. So in other words, they were going to use time and an investment strategy in order to get you the full amount. So if you decide you want to take the entire value all at once, total a little bit less than the advertised payout of the lottery. Now, if you're going to take a little bit less, why would a person elect that option? Well, there are a couple of reasons why a person might prefer to take a lump sum rather than installments. The person's going to choose this if they think they can get a better deal elsewhere, if they think they stand to lose money taking the pension over time in some way, or that they could gain money by doing it the other way and taking the lump sum. So for instance, let's suppose that you knew that your company's future is bleak. We've talked about other companies like Sears that have been in trouble and that have had difficulties with pension programs. GE, General Motors, we hear about the names of some of these companies. Very big companies. Kodak is a primary example of this. Peabody Coal also had this happen, where there was a big hullabaloo about the loss of a pension even once it had been in place. So you can be counting on it, and if the company goes downhill. So some people prefer to take the money, and that way they don't have any stake left in the company. If the company tanks, that doesn't affect their retirement. A second reason why a person might take a lump sum is they think they can do better with that money as a lump sum, let's say in the market. So for instance, maybe they don't personally think they could do better, but they have a money manager, and the money manager is telling them, you know what, take your lump sum, we can put it in the market, get you a better return than what you would have gotten through the pension. So again, the bottom line is you think you're going to lose money because maybe the company's going to go out of business, or you think you could gain more money in the market, then a person might elect a lump sum. A final idea there is that they want more flexibility. There is a sense in which once you elect a pension option from your company, you are stuck in that pension election option. If you have survivorship, that survivorship has been pinned down, and some people prefer the flexibility of being able to select what they do with their money. So what would be a reason why a person would select installments? And that is because they want that guaranteed income stream. Rather than trying to make themselves richer, they would just simply want a guarantee against being poor. They'd rather take the guaranteed income stream than roll the dice in the market. So a person might elect an installment plan or a payout option for their pension that's going to pay them over a period of time. If you don't take it all at once, essentially you will be placed into a fixed annuity. And the payment options you're going to have are going to be, number one, to have a single annuitant or a single pensioner and no survivorship, that is 0%, or you're going to choose to have some survivorship. Now the survivorship percentage can be anything. It could be 25%, 50%, 66 2/3, 70%, 100%. And the survivorship percentage is the question of when the pensioner dies, how much money will still be paid to whoever survives, the spouse. So if there's a 25% survivorship, that means that upon the death of the pensioner, the spouse will receive 1/4 of the benefit that the pensioner received while he or she was alive. Now let me make this a little clearer with some actual numbers. Now there are a couple of things to bear in mind. The first is that the larger the survivorship percentage, the smaller the benefit is going to be to the pensioner. And the reason for this is that they essentially are going to be taking some of the money that you would have been paid if you elect no survivorship. They're going to take that money and they're going to basically buy you an insurance policy for your spouse. It's the easiest way to think of it. You are spending some of your pension money to guarantee money to your spouse. Let's put some concrete numbers to that. Just pulling these numbers out of the air. Let's suppose that if you elected your pension, you would receive $2,000 a month, provided that you had 0 survivorship. There was nothing left over. So you would get $2,000 a month for the rest of your life, but in the event that you die before your spouse would get nothing. We would refer to that as a pure annuity or a single pensioner option, and you could also refer to it as 0% survivorship. Let's say I say, no, I don't want it like that. I would prefer to have my spouse have some money left over when I die. Well, let's suppose that we wanted to guarantee 100% of the benefit. I would have to take a little bit less if I elected that option. So let's suppose that if I wanted 100% survivorship, I would have to select a $1,500 a month benefit instead of a $2,000 a month benefit. And that $500 a month then is going to guarantee the benefit to my spouse in the event of my death. So in other words, if I pick 0% survivorship, I get $2,000 a month, but my spouse would get nothing. If I pick $1,500 a month, then I have guaranteed $1,500 a month to the spouse upon my death. So I would receive $1,500 a month while I live. If I die, my spouse would get $1,500 a month as well. That's called 100% survivorship. Full benefit guarantee. But let's say $500 a month is too big a pill for us to swallow, so we decide to look at a 50% survivorship option. So let's say in that case, I elect a $1,750 option per month, and that guarantees 50% of that retirement benefit to the spouse in the event of my death. Now remember, 50% is calculated on the amount that I get. So if I'm electing $1,750 in order to get a 50% survivorship, the spouse would get half of $1,750, which is $875 a month. So if I get $2,000 a month, the spouse gets nothing. If I elect $1,500 a month, I can preserve all $1,500 for my spouse. But if I elect 50% option, I can get $1,750 a month, a little bit more than I would get if I guaranteed 100%, but the spouse is going to get 50% of what I get, which means the spouse would get $875 a month in the event of my death. A couple of things to bear in mind. First one is that I'm making these numbers up, so obviously there's going to be little nits to pick with respect to the numbers that I've selected, but there are a couple of basic ideas I'm trying to get across. The first one is that the money that you get if you elect 0% is going to be the highest amount you could possibly get. They're going to pay you more money per month if you elect no survivorship. The higher the survivorship percent goes, the lower your payment will go. So it goes from $2,000 in my example to $1,500 for full survivorship. If you want to have some kind of survivorship provision from the pension company itself, you're going to have to select some kind of survivorship option that they present. Usually it's going to be in the neighborhood of 50, 75, something like that. 2/3 is not uncommon. But once you elect that, it's irrevocable. That payment option is set in stone and cannot be changed, for the most part. I'm sure there are some exceptions somewhere, but that's generally the way it goes. Now there is the possibility that they might pay out over a set period of time. Now if they do this, this is similar to the annuity option that's called annuity certain. So for example, instead of giving you a lifetime, which is what we've been contemplating, they just say to you, we'll pay your pension for 10 years until it's all paid out. Now this is an uncommon election option, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but if they pay it out just for a limited amount of time, you can usually get a higher amount than you would if it's a lifetime amount. So we were contemplating a pension paying out between $1,500 and $2,000 a month for the pensioner's life, the entirety of that person's life. And if there's a survivorship option, then it would pay the spouse a certain percentage for the rest of his or her life. But there are also fixed period and fixed amount options available sometimes from pension election forms, and those would specify a certain dollar amount that would be paid out for a set amount of time, and then the pension would go away. For more details on that, you can see the annuity settlement option video. Now right now, I hope you have a better fix on the options that are available to you. In the next installment, what I'm going to get into is the question of how to actually make the decision, how to make those evaluations, because sometimes it looks like, well, we want to provide some benefit for the spouse upon my death, but we don't know how much we're actually spending. So in the next series of conversations, I'm going to get into how to value your pension, number one. And then number two, I'm going to get into a strategy of using private life insurance to see if you can get a better deal. And that strategy is referred to as pension maximization. Now there's an allied conversation of pension optimization that has to do with flexibility of options, and I envision that being a future conversation as well. So stay tuned for those. If you found something of value in this video, I ask that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be alerted to new content as it becomes available. I thank you so much for being with me today, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video. Thank you.